When he was born, it was the best moment of my whole entire life.
I think it was her first year in preschool when she said, "Do I have a daddy?" And we said, "No, you have a donor."
You know, I bathed him, I put him to bed, I, put a Band-Aid on his, boo-boo, and we did all of that typical, family stuff. The fact of dealing with that he lived a block away from me and having to see him in the store be pulled away from me, having to deal with that on a daily basis was excruciating.
I think about the world I want to give her and my role in her life. And she knows who I am. I'm her Mima.
I might have given birth, but I'll tell you that those two are inseparable.
I knew I had to have some kind of representation and to get paperwork filed and that. And no one in the nearby area would even hear my story. I would call. The minute I said I was a non-biological same-sex parent, they would hang up the phone and tell me there was nothing that could be done.
When people call LeGaL's helpline or come to our clinics, they're scared. When you're not a lawyer, the law is scary. And so what we offer them is a sense of comfort, community, and counsel.
I just happened to come across LeGaL and I sent an email, and Brett was like my saving grace at that point.
Family law is a really unique area of practice because it involves not money, but the most gut-wrenching things in people's lives. It involves children and marriage and the potential loss of the rights with respect to children at times.
The appellate division for the 4th Department said, no, you can't even come to court and ask for this. You don't have standing to seek what you're asking for.
LeGaL reached out to my partner, Meg Canby, with whom they had an ongoing relationship, and said, we received a phone call from this woman whose case is going to be reviewed by the Court of Appeals, and would you be interested in helping us overturn 25 years of harsh Court of Appeals precedent?
I'm a natural pessimist, so I was skeptical to start. I got to tell you, Brett, who's ever optimistic, was saying, come on, go through this file. Let's go through the file.
And she came with a gigantic binder of all of the, the greeting cards, the Mother's Day cards, the medical records, affidavits from people who had professionals who had rendered services to their son over the years. It was so incredibly painful to think that this woman, who was this boy's mother, I hadn't seen him in 3 years. It was heartbreaking.
The entire approach of a very simplistic, quote, bright line rule is overly simplistic for the assessment of the rights of families, and that New York State families are constituted in a lot of different ways, and that the law needs to evolve to be able to embrace the whole rainbow of ways in which New Yorkers create families.
The marriage equality cases recognize the equal dignity of LGBT families. And now it's important to make sure that historic legal principles are applied in a way that is fair. This often has to do with rights of LGBT parents who may not be the adoptive or biological parent. Perhaps there has been use of a donor, assisted reproductive technology, and the law has to take into account the fundamental dignity and integrity of the family, especially for the children of LGBT families.
We walked into a courtroom and it felt like an ambush.
That's the one time I got to speak up and say yes. I provided insurance.
So,
But it was no mention of me, so.
I don't even believe she asked
hurts.
if you were the other mother or any other
No,
reference to who
none
you
of
were.
those
You were just the
questions
person
were asked.
providing insurance randomly in the crowd. I decided to make as many calls as I could to every LGBT organization I could think of, thinking we have a case that needs somebody who knows what they're doing.
LeGaL is really a point of entry for people to the legal system, and people come to us with a whole host of needs, especially family law-related needs, and so we are able to clarify the issue, refer the case, if appropriate, to one of our partner law firms or legal services organizations, and so we're really in the trenches and kind of the first line of defense for people who are bumping up against these hard edges of the law, which really have have impacted LGBT families in a disproportionate and negative way.
Somewhere in there I came across in my searches the LGBT Bar Association, and this really calm voice called me back. I took a deep breath in and I told my wife we might have a chance.
A lot of us went to law school to change the world, and then that gets lost along the way for one reason or another. But you can, in some sense, in some meaningful sense, change the world. Even if it's for one person, you can effectuate real change for that person, and you can do that through LeGaL. Come to our clinics, volunteer, even if it's once a year. Join our pro bono panel, join our leadership council, join our referral network. Let us give you business, because our community needs lawyers who won't judge them, where they'll feel comfortable, lawyers who reflect the faces of our community, the diverse faces of our community. Our community depends on us. We are a family, and LeGaL depends on you.
I got to see them meet each other for the first time in 3 years and go off to the playground and play.
Even at the darkest moment, when you think that all is lost, there are miracles that do happen, and you just have to believe in them, and you have to look for them, and they are out there. And Blank Rome and LeGaL and Lambda, they really are my miracle.